Hello, everyone, and welcome to After Hours Conversations for Music Educators. We're excited to have a direct to podcast episode, and we're going to have some familiar faces back on today's conversation for the show. And what we're going to be doing is talking about the post pandemic planning guide. Now, hopefully, by now, this information, this content has hit your inbox. And so we've organized this team of incredible people who have been writing this content behind the scenes. And we sat down with them and asked, okay, what are you doing to transition from surviving, which it seems like we've all been doing this last year, to thriving? And that's really what we're all seeking in the post-pandemic life is how are we going to come out of this? What lessons did we learn that make us better and help us to thrive in whatever the year 2021 and the upcoming academic year looks like? And so I'm excited to welcome some familiar faces, some people that I consider good friends, to talk about what they're personally doing to transition from surviving to thriving. And so my first guest today is going to be Miss Marcia Neal. Marcia, welcome back to After Hours. How are you today?
Thanks, Nick. I'm doing just great.
It
Thank
is
you.
so good to see you. Thanks for coming back and joining us.
Sure. Sure
And
thing.
first off, just help us get a temperature in the water. You interact with a lot of educators right now. We're approaching the end of the school year. What
Mhm.
are you seeing right now in the education world?
Exhaustion. Let me get to the end. I need a break. Help, help, help. Everybody needs a vacation for at least the next year, but no one ever thought, gee, wouldn't it be great to teach from home and how great, and thought, wow, this is going to be cool. I don't have to do this or this. Wrong. I think everybody's had it with that. But with all of that in mind, I want to just address kind of like some big things because I've been hearing from teachers that even though it's just been so great to see the kids and now they're starting to come back in person and all that, but teachers are really ready to have I don't know, a real experience. Start over again, get your feet on the ground the way you normally do. But I just don't think there's going to be a normally do in the way that we've had that in the past. And so first of all, I'm going to start by saying that, when we all grew up as kids going to school and we got involved in music, we took lessons and all of that. And you may remember that we had to do recitals and how that just put us on edge. And if you miss one note, your next 2 weeks were just like horrible.
Yeah.
And you just kind of grieved over it and walk around with your head down and all that. And then you decide to major in music or you go to solo and ensemble as a high school kid and you forgot a word, while you're singing some aria or something in some other foreign language, which think about that alone, right? Okay, then you go to college and you're majoring in music. And what do you have? Juries. Like every so often, somebody's going to listen to you do whatever you do and judge you and say you're good or you're bad. And you carry all of this around all the time. People judge me, judge me, judge me. Then you go to your first teaching job. First thing you think is, oh, the principal's going to come in and hate what I do. All right. So there you go again. Judge, judge, judge. And then the next thing you know, you're teaching at a high school or middle school, you got an ensemble, and hey, the principal says, we want you to take your kids to festival. And we want you to get a superior rating. Oh my gosh, here we are again. Judge, judge, judge. And so we end up worrying so much about what other people think, right? That we lose the place where we love to be. And that is, I'm not doing it because it fulfills lots of things for other kids or it makes me feel better. It's really somebody else watching what I'm doing and then judging me on that. Okay, well, with that in mind, all right, teachers are getting ready to go back to school in the fall and starting to think about this, and now they're thinking, well, gosh, I had 125 kids in my choir last year and now it looks like I'm only got like 80 kids signed up. Well, you know what? We need to back off of that and now stop judging yourself because you've lived so long, with other people judging you that you have to remember we are all going to be rebuilding and sort of starting in a new way. And as difficult as this particular year was, there are going to be difficulties with next year as we think we're going to be getting right back on the saddle, but it's not going to be quite the same. We need to be more forgiving of ourselves. We need to just back off a little bit and not worry that it's not what I used to do. Just get over that. Number one thing. And you are hearing from someone who was a music supervisor. And if I were still a music supervisor, I would say this to my teachers: listen, your kids need you. You need to be there for them. And they need you for different reasons than what you might think, you know? And they need you because I believe in their heart, every single student, every single kid wants to experience success in some fashion. And in some cases, they don't experience success in sports, or they're not good academically in other parts of the, but they come to your class and this is where their whole world exists. And there are a lot of kids like that, way more than most people know. And so when I think about how we can offer a path to success for these kids, how do we teach that? Well, we teach them that, you know, hard work can really net you some great gains. And what's the hard work? Well, we have our pedal to the metal when we're working and rehearsing and all that kind of a thing. We have goals that we set, that we want to do this and that, and we want to achieve this and that also helps us to realize success. So for example, success is one of those things. Here's another thing: lifelong memories. You know, you don't have lifelong memories of your math classes, I'm pretty sure. And that's not to say you didn't have a great math teacher. I'm sure a lot of you did. But I have kids today who are in their, well, I won't say how old they are, but they get back to me on Facebook and make all these comments. And I think, I said that? Uh-oh. They remember a lot, but they don't say, wow, you know, that the time that we sang Ave Verum, man, you know what? That was, I really am so grateful for how I learned to modify my vowels. No, they talk about how we went maybe to a festival and how we felt so great about the fact that we did something together and achieved this wonderful piece of art together, you know, and being together is really what it's all about right now. I mean, I've got directors saying when the kids first come to see each other as they come back to school, that they're just in tears. You know, it's such an emotional experience, you know. So lifelong memories. So my life is filled with beautiful memories. Think about it. Where are these kids going to get their memories? You know? So art, and then there's art, A for art. We foster self-expression through art, right? You know what? There are days that I want to party down, and boy, do I put on the music to do that. I don't put on the same music like that when I just want to relax, you know? And I have a legislator who in DC said flat out to me, listen, at the end of the day, I put on jazz on my way home in the car, because I don't want to hear anything serious. I've heard serious enough all day long, you know? So it's pretty cool that we have that as well. And let's think about this. The more you understand about music, really, the more enjoyment you can get out of it. And what do I mean by that? So the composer wrote in a certain way to elicit a response of some kind. The notes go up in a certain direction, or it gets loud in a certain place because the composer wants to say something to people at that time in some way. So, I mean, the more that we understand music, and that's what we're doing with kids, is helping them to understand and transition it for them, you know, the more that music means to them, and they'll carry it around the rest of their lives. Music will have an impact on them. Just think about how your life would be so different if music had not been in it to this point. For you, there are kids who are going through that right now, who are going to be our age one day and say, man, if it had not been for that music class, I don't know what I'd be doing. Truly, I believe that. Respect. We can't sing anything we want to in choir. You might want to sing some great tune that you know, but you can't do it at the same time that we're trying to rehearse something else. You don't just sing loud because you feel like it. No, we respect each other. We respect the music. We respect the composer. We respect the teacher. We learn respect for each other when we work together in an ensemble. I mean, it really is life, like in a bowl right there. So, I mean, respect. And then the last thing I really think is so important to teach is trust. You know, problem with trust these days. They don't know who to trust. But, you know, if they come to you in your classes and they know you have their back, you know, they're not going to make mistakes. You know, I don't care if you're singing wrong note. Sing it loudly so I can hear it. That's you know, that's not an issue with me. I have your back. And these other kids who are in the group with you, they have your back. And when you learn that there's trust in the world, and right now particularly, if I were a young person, I would be really concerned and wondering what's out there for me. I mean, do I trust the future? but you have to be there for them. And I know that all these things, success, memories, art, choir, respect, I should say, and trust, all these things add up to the word smart. That's what I just spelled out. And it's just the way if we could focus on that smart approach and not worry so much about, gee, I can't do that 6-part, motet that I was going to do this year. Forget it. That is not what's important. What is important coming forward this year is that we get the kids from one place to another. We need to help them transition back into the world. They've been apart from the world, and they need us to help them to do that. And we are going to be the only place where that's going to happen, to the degree that we can make it happen, because of who we are and what we do. Yeah. So I'm on my high horse a little bit about this, because, I wish that I could give every music educator, a pat on the back, because you guys have done such an amazing job this year. But there's so much more good work to do. I mean, and it's going to be so rewarding back again when you can get get back in the saddle and it's a little bit more familiar. It won't be exactly the same, but just don't worry about the judgmental thing. You are ultimately the judge of what you do, and your kids will they will feel it. So
I love that approach, Marcia, because I think you are so right. We are flipping the way that our programs have been viewed. To your point, we have all been brought up through this education system and musically, where it's all about this performance component, whether we are in middle school or high school or college, it's all about the performance. That's been stripped away from us. And one of the things that I love about the approach that you're taking is it almost says, is you're acknowledging and respecting the process, the fact that, hey, we're not just going to return to the classroom and everything's going to be back the way it was. Is that there's been some emotional scarring. And I know, Tyler, before we hit the record button, you and I were talking about that, and we're going to pull at some of those threads here in just a minute too. But, I love that you're saying, hey, we have to respect this process, because we're going to get back to that point, but it's going to take time, and we have to keep the big picture, building trust and appreciation of the arts. And we'll get back to making music too, but let's get the foundation laid now.
Yeah. And it's okay. Just be happy with, with who you are and what you're doing. You teachers are all wonderful, and you're doing great things for kids. Keep that most forward thinking in your mind. And remember, the difference you are making with kids is just, that's everything.
Amen to that, Marcia. Because I know I tip my hats to all of the music educators out there. They have worked so hard. And speaking of music educators, let's talk to an award-winning music educator, and welcome back to After Hours, Mr. Tyler Swick. Good to see you today. How are you, Tyler?
I'm fantastic. Thank you so much for having me here.
Well,
I wrapped up my Friday and was so excited to get home and get on the camera and the microphone.
Well, we're glad to have you back on After Hours. And of course, you've been a big contributing author of this post-pandemic planning guide, but you're just now recently back in your classroom teaching there in Clark County in Las Vegas. Y'all returned to school here recently. Help us understand the temperature of the water where you are right now.
I would say the vast majority, I'll go as far to say 80% plus, are stoked to be in the building. We're just so excited. Our masks are on. Put me in the classroom. Let's do this. And those are the energies that I'm trying to pull most of my energy from, like the excitement of being back in the classroom. And of course, there's those who are cautious, which I absolutely respect. Caution will get us through this. Where they're very serious about their safety, and we're following every precaution we can in the classroom. And then we have this very small number of friends where they're kind of back, but they really would rather be online. And online is still an option in our district. So we do have friends that have taken that option, which again, I'm thrilled to have the option, right? Completely respect their ability to say, we want to be back or don't. But those who are back are really, for the majority, just thriving right now with seeing face-to-face contact, having human interaction, being able to hear things live and in person, and also being able to read kind of facial expressions face-to-face as opposed to over the internet. We're all 2-inch squares. I'm holding up hands like people can see my hands. We're all 2-inch squares on TV, and in person I'm 6'2", and all of a sudden those kids have a different perspective of who I am.
Hey, you're my teacher. I just know you on the screen.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was just a face, a floating face, and then I'm just this like towering person over my kindergarten friends, and they're going, "Whoa, that's Mr. Swick! Whoa, he's a monster." Uh, but yeah, um, it's a wonderful thing to be back. We're super excited about it, and as far as the happiness level, it's up as far as I see it. You
Good.
know, we're counting down still until summer, but I think we prefer this much more than that distance feeling of, you know, I hope they're hearing my lesson, or I hope they're there though their camera's off. This is a lot more gratifying to see the faces, see the smiles.
Yeah. Well, Tyler, from your individual perspective, I mean, you have a family, you have kids. You've been faced, like many educators, teaching in this hybrid online a long time, fatiguing. And now you're in this hybrid, which is also very fatiguing. I've got in person, online. I mean, how are you keeping perspective and focusing on thriving now and in the future, as opposed to surviving like we've been doing?
Yeah, I'm a terrible person when it comes to the school day ending. I am the person who brings work home. I'm the person who skips dinner to do more work. I'm the person whose phone is on loud in case work calls. And this whole experience kind of backed me off of that a little bit. And I'm not going to say completely, I'm not a totally changed man. But the idea of the work email can wait till tomorrow. You know, the idea that our clubs have gone away, and not having, I used to have choir an hour before school, so I'd go to school early, and now there's this thrill of showing up on time. And it's so crazy how devilish it feels to be like, my contract starts at 7:30 and I parked that car at 7:29. Ooh boy, really cutting it close today. Yeah, but there was a day where if I was, you know, if I wasn't an hour early, I felt like I was slacking off. And so it really kind of put in perspective of, I will give my 110% at school. And when the day is over, I am rushing home to completely unplug from these situations. Now I broke the rule twice already. I act like I'm a changed man. Here's where I broke the rule. I was in a class and a song idea hit me for singing to the kids about how to wear their masks. And I was just I see all these noses, right? I see all these kindergarten noses peeking out from their masks. I think I have to make a song about hiding your nose. And so I came home and I had the family dinner. I turned to my wife and I say, I need 30 minutes to go write and record a song about hiding your nose. And I recorded it, wrote it, got it done, put it on the drive, sent it to my coworkers at school to say, hey, what do you think? I want your opinion before kids hear it. And then the next day I aired it out for the whole school to hear, because it was my day to teach music. I teach all 700 kids in one day now, and I played it for every class, and it was a total hit. I go, perfect. This is great. This is gonna be my jam now. But whenever I get those song ideas, I have to get them done and going. But the cool part is now every day, instead of me bringing up the nose thing, I press play and they go, oh, that's the nose song. And then 8 kids cover up their noses. So, but that's part of this whole digital thing that we're going to about. I'm going to say 2 years ago when I was putting things on YouTube, I thought I was ahead of the curve, right? I thought this was groundbreaking, music class on the internet. And now it is so common and saturated that it's kind of wild. But the benefit, of course, is to the teacher, to the educator. The amount of options we have on the internet right now are insane. And myself included, I'm putting my own content on my channel. And I encourage every teacher to do this, where if you have a favorite song, if you arrange something, I think everyone should be creating some sort of way to a keepsake, because I am amazing at forgetting things a year later. Next October, I don't even remember what Halloween song we did. So for me, what I'm saying, or my thoughts for thriving at least, would be to put a kind of time capsule together of, okay, I loved this nose song. And of course, if masks go away, that's going to be a whole different thing. But if we start wearing masks in the fall, then I have this time capsule. It's on the internet. I know where it is. And I'm going to bust it back out. And that's one less thing for me to do next year, right? If I can record or make a video or make anything where I can just press play.
That's a great idea, Tyler. I mean, this year, out of necessity, educators were forced to create all of these new curriculum ideas and all of this new content. And some of it might not last, like a song about covering our noses, but I bet a lot of it will last, because the fundamentals of music are still present. And so we have all of this great content where I know y'all probably don't get a lot of snow days like in Clark County and Las Vegas out there. But for everybody that has snow days, the whole idea or distance learning or to engage the kids at home, I mean, it just seems like there's so much new content that we can tap into, share readily. I mean, how many people are reaching out to you, Tyler, saying, I love your content? I'm sure it's a ton.
It's wild. I've maybe said this before once, but the idea of, I always wanted to be known as a teacher. And I kind of saw the maximum ability would be to be the top of my school district. I want to be the best elementary music teacher in my school district. And then now I get comments online from France that are like, we love your song. What? I have this small community in Australia where they're like, we love these songs, you should do more of these. And then last week, somebody in German tagged me on Instagram, and they showed one of my Boomwhacker videos, and they had like 100,000 followers in Germany. And I thought, okay. And then I got this boost of German followers. And I thought, this is it. This is the world getting smaller, where educators, if you create something meaningful and useful, now useful is one of the bigger part of that. Meaningful is just helpful. But if it's useful, it will be used and it will spread. And I think all of us have a lesson in us, at least one, just golden lesson. If you can teach it, and it's amazing. The students love it. They walk away whistling it. They learn something. And when this whole thing started, I kind of jokingly said to my boss, of if every music teacher in the country like made one 30-minute video of a great lesson, would never have to teach again, right? I would just show the best content from across the country. Now, of course, my boss, being a smart person, responded with, then they would fire all the music teachers because anyone can press play. And I went, great point, let's not do that. But to a degree, this has happened where I can find incredible content online that I never would have thought of. I never would have thought, ooh, let's put this song over that beat and play buckets. I never would have thought of, let's play whistles over this symphony while doing this Orff movement. And it's just so fun now to see it. And I've been pushing this all along, but we're going to come out of this better than we went in. I know more than I did when I came into this now, and it's not over yet. We're still making content.
Yeah, that's such great perspective. I can't wait to see what the future of education looks like when we can return to normal, quote unquote, but with the lessons that we've learned as a result of the pandemic.